The Young and the Restless spoilers, Phyllis turns to Summer as family drama reaches a breaking point. What if the person you love most suddenly decides to walk away from you? For Phyllis Summers, that question is no longer hypothetical. It has become her reality. Over the past several months, Phyllis has found herself more isolated than ever before. The confident, fearless woman who always believed she could overcome any obstacle is now facing something she never expected: distance from her own children. And according to recent developments, that emotional wound may soon push her toward a decision that could change everything. Lately, viewers have noticed something interesting. Phyllis keeps bringing up her daughter, Summer Newman. Whether she is talking about family, discussing the future, or reflecting on recent mistakes, Summer's name continues to come up again and again. That repeated focus has sparked speculation throughout Genoa City. Why is Summer suddenly being mentioned so often? Could it be a clue that she is preparing to return? Or is Phyllis simply struggling to cope with the painful absence of the daughter she desperately wants back in her life? As many fans remember, Summer left Genoa City and moved to Italy. Since then, updates about her have been limited. Occasionally, family members have mentioned how she is doing, and recent conversations even suggested that she has started a new relationship overseas. Apparently, Summer has a boyfriend in Italy and has been building a different life away from the chaos she left behind. At first glance, that sounds like good news. A fresh start. A new romance. A chance to leave old conflicts behind. But for Phyllis, every update about Summer's life serves as another reminder that her daughter is living far away and no longer wants regular contact with her. That reality has been devastating. The situation became even more complicated because Summer's departure wasn't simply about moving to another country. It was connected to deep emotional issues that had been growing within the family for a long time. Phyllis believed she was making bold moves to secure her future. She convinced herself that her actions would eventually be understood. Instead, the opposite happened. The choices she made created a divide between herself and the people she loves most. Summer wasn't willing to ignore those decisions. Daniel wasn't willing to ignore them either. And suddenly, Phyllis found herself standing alone. For someone like Phyllis, loneliness can be difficult to accept. She has always been a fighter. She has always believed that persistence eventually wins. But family conflicts are different. You can't negotiate love. You can't force forgiveness. And you certainly can't control how your children feel after trust has been broken. As the months passed, the silence between Phyllis and Summer became increasingly painful. Every family gathering felt incomplete. Every conversation seemed to remind her of what she had lost. And while Summer continued building a life in Italy, Phyllis remained stuck in Genoa City, wondering whether she would ever get another chance to repair their relationship. Meanwhile, another factor continued hanging over the entire situation. Summer isn't just Phyllis's daughter. She is also part of the Newman family legacy. That connection has always influenced the way she sees the world. It influences her values. It influences her decisions. And it may explain why certain actions taken by Phyllis affected her so deeply. The emotional gap between mother and daughter eventually grew so large that many people started wondering whether reconciliation was even possible. Had too much damage already been done? Was Summer determined to keep her distance forever? Or was there still a small part of her that missed home? Those questions have remained unanswered. But recently, subtle signs have begun appearing that suggest the story may not be over. In fact, some fans believe the real drama is only beginning. Because if Summer truly returns to Genoa City, she won't be returning to the same life she left behind. Everything has changed. Relationships have shifted. Old alliances have disappeared. New romances have emerged. And perhaps most importantly, Phyllis herself has changed. The woman Summer left behind may not be the same woman waiting for her return today. And that is exactly where this emotional story starts to become even more interesting. Because sometimes distance doesn't end a family bond. Sometimes it reveals how important that bond truly is. And as Phyllis continues searching for a way back into her daughter's life, a surprising new chapter may be getting ready to unfold. One that could bring hope, heartbreak, and unexpected reunions all at the same time. The Young and the Restless spoilers, Phyllis turns to Summer as family drama reaches a breaking point, part. As Phyllis continued struggling with the distance between herself and her children, another painful realization slowly began to take shape. The family she had spent years fighting for was slipping further away. And no matter how hard she tried to justify her decisions, the damage had already been done. For a long time, Phyllis convinced herself that eventually Summer and Daniel would understand her perspective. She believed that one day they would recognize why she made certain choices and why she fought so hard to achieve her goals. But reality turned out to be very different. Instead of earning their respect, her actions created disappointment. Instead of bringing the family closer together, they pushed everyone further apart. And nowhere was that more obvious than in her relationship with Summer. According to the information reaching Genoa City from Italy, Summer has been focusing on building a completely new chapter of her life. She has been exploring new opportunities, meeting new people, and adapting to an entirely different environment. Most importantly, she appears to have found someone special. The reports about Summer's boyfriend have naturally attracted attention. While very little is known about the relationship, the fact that Summer has been able to move forward emotionally suggests that she may have found stability far away from the family drama she left behind. For Phyllis, hearing those updates creates mixed emotions. On one hand, she wants her daughter to be happy. Any mother would. But on the other hand, every piece of news from Italy serves as a reminder that Summer's new life doesn't currently include her. That reality hurts more than she is willing to admit. Meanwhile, life in Genoa City continues moving forward. People are making new plans. Relationships are evolving. And the world Summer left behind looks very different today. One of the biggest changes involves Kyle Abbott. As longtime viewers remember, Kyle and Summer once appeared destined to build a future together. Despite numerous obstacles and emotional setbacks, they repeatedly found their way back to one another. Many fans believed they would eventually overcome every challenge. But life rarely follows a predictable path. During the final stages of their relationship, new complications emerged that neither of them could ignore. And one person, in particular, became impossible to overlook. Claire Newman. Claire's growing connection with Kyle gradually changed everything. At first, the situation seemed harmless. But over time, emotional lines became blurred. The bond between Claire and Kyle continued developing, creating tension that Summer couldn't ignore. The situation became even more complicated because Claire also formed a close relationship with Harrison Abbott. That connection affected Summer deeply. From her perspective, someone else was slowly becoming part of a family space she once considered her own. The emotional impact was significant. And according to many observers, those circumstances played a role in Summer's decision to leave the United States and start over in Italy. Looking back now, that choice may have changed the course of her life. Had she stayed in Genoa City, things might have unfolded differently. Perhaps old relationships could have been repaired. Perhaps misunderstandings could have been resolved. Or perhaps the heartbreak would have only grown worse. No one can know for certain. What is clear, however, is that Summer's departure left a noticeable void behind. Especially for Phyllis. Every passing month seems to strengthen her desire for reconciliation. She misses the conversations. She misses the connection. And most of all, she misses being part of her daughter's everyday life. Recently, that longing has become increasingly difficult to hide. Friends and family members have noticed it. Viewers have noticed it. Even casual conversations often circle back to Summer. Almost as if Phyllis is searching for any excuse to keep her daughter's memory close. But there may be another reason behind all these references. Sometimes soap operas leave clues long before major developments occur. A character's name begins appearing more frequently. Old relationships suddenly become important again. Conversations that seem insignificant at first start carrying greater meaning. And eventually, those clues lead to something much bigger. That possibility is exactly why many fans have started paying close attention. Could Summer's frequent mentions be setting the stage for her return? Could the writers be preparing viewers for a major family reunion? Or is an even bigger surprise waiting around the corner? At this point, nobody knows for sure. But one thing is becoming increasingly obvious. Phyllis is reaching an emotional crossroads. The pain of separation is becoming impossible to ignore. And sooner or later, she may be forced to make a decision that changes everything. A decision that could finally bring her face to face with the daughter she has been missing for so long. But if that reunion happens, it won't be simple. Because Summer isn't the only person whose life has changed. The young and the restless spoilers, Phyllis turns to Summer as family drama reaches a breaking point. If Summer Newman decides to return to Genoa City, she won't just be coming home. She'll be walking directly into a situation that has changed dramatically since the day she left. And that may create more complications than anyone is prepared for. While Summer has been building a new life in Italy, the people she left behind have continued moving forward. New friendships have formed, old relationships have evolved, and unexpected connections have started changing the future of several key families. At the center of it all is Kyle Abbott. For years, Kyle and Summer shared a complicated love story filled with passion, heartbreak, reconciliation, and countless second chances. No matter how many obstacles appeared, there was always a feeling that they might eventually find their way back to each other. But things are different now. Very different. The man Summer left behind isn't exactly the same man who remains in Genoa City today. Time has changed him. Experience has changed him. And perhaps most importantly, new relationships have changed him. One of those relationships involves Claire Newman. Over recent months, Claire has become an increasingly important figure in Kyle's life. Their connection developed gradually, but many people around them began noticing the chemistry. At first, some dismissed it as friendship. Others believed it would never become anything serious. But as time passed, it became harder to ignore the growing bond between them. What makes the situation even more complicated is the emotional history attached to everyone involved. Summer and Claire are connected through the extended Newman family. Kyle shares important memories with both women. And Harrison remains a central figure whose happiness matters to everyone. That creates an emotional puzzle with no easy solution. If Summer returns expecting everything to be exactly as she left it, she could be in for a major shock. Because the world has continued spinning without her. And that reality might be difficult to accept. Of course, there is another side to the story as well. Just because Kyle has moved forward doesn't automatically mean his feelings for Summer have disappeared completely. Relationships are rarely that simple. Especially in Genoa City. History has a way of resurfacing when people least expect it. Old memories return. Old emotions come back to life. And sometimes feelings that seemed buried suddenly become impossible to ignore. That's why many fans continue wondering whether Kyle and Summer's story is truly finished. Or whether one final chapter remains unwritten. Meanwhile, Summer's situation in Italy raises questions of its own. Reports suggest she has been involved in a serious relationship overseas. While details remain limited, the existence of a boyfriend indicates that Summer has also been trying to move on. She hasn't spent the last year simply waiting for the past to return. She has been creating a future for herself. That future may include new dreams, new priorities, and perhaps even a new love story. But what happens when that future collides with unfinished business from the past? That's where things become interesting. Imagine Summer arriving back in Genoa City after months away. She reconnects with old friends. She visits familiar places. She begins rebuilding family relationships. Then suddenly she finds herself standing face to face with Kyle again. The memories would be impossible to avoid. The emotions could be overwhelming. And the questions would arrive almost immediately. What if old feelings still exist? What if neither person has completely moved on? What if the timing is suddenly right when it was once wrong? Those possibilities are exactly why viewers remain fascinated by this storyline. Because beneath the family drama, there is still an emotional mystery waiting to be solved. And at the center of that mystery stands Phyllis. Ironically, the person who started this story may also become the person who changes its outcome. Phyllis desperately wants her daughter back. She wants forgiveness. She wants another chance. And she wants her family to feel whole again. The problem is that repairing damaged relationships is never easy. Trust takes time. Healing takes effort. And reconciliation requires both sides to be willing participants. No matter how badly Phyllis wants to reconnect, Summer must make that choice for herself. That is why the next chapter could become the most important one yet. Because sooner or later, Summer will have to decide whether Genoa City still feels like home. Whether her future belongs in Italy or Wisconsin. Whether the people she left behind still deserve a place in her life. And most importantly, whether she is ready to forgive the mother who broke her trust. Those answers could reshape multiple lives. Not just Summer's. Not just Phyllis's. But Kyle's, Claire's, and everyone connected to them. The emotional storm has been building for months. And all signs suggest it may finally be approaching. Because sometimes the hardest journey isn't leaving home. It's finding the courage to return. The Young and the Restless spoilers, Phyllis turns to Summer as family drama reaches a breaking point. As the weeks continue to pass, one reality becomes impossible for Phyllis Summers to ignore. She is running out of time. Not because of any deadline. Not because of any business crisis. But because every day that passes without speaking to Summer feels like another piece of their relationship slipping away forever. For months, Phyllis tried convincing herself that everything would eventually work out. She believed Summer would calm down. She believed Daniel would eventually understand. And she believed that her family would find its way back together. But now, those hopes seem far less certain than they once did. The silence has lasted too long. The distance feels too real. And the emotional consequences are becoming harder to hide. Even people around her have started noticing the change. The fearless woman who once charged into every battle without hesitation now appears distracted. Thoughtful. Even vulnerable. That isn't a side of Phyllis people see very often. But losing the trust of her children has affected her in ways she never expected. The hardest part is knowing that she cannot simply fix the situation herself. Business problems can be solved. Enemies can be defeated. Mistakes can sometimes be corrected. But rebuilding a damaged family relationship requires patience. And patience has never been one of Phyllis's strongest qualities. That frustration continues growing with every passing day. Yet beneath the frustration lies something even more powerful. Regret. Whether she admits it openly or not, Phyllis understands that many of the choices she made helped create the situation she now faces. At the time, she believed she was making the right decisions. She thought she was protecting her future. She thought she was proving her strength. Instead, those choices created consequences she never anticipated. And now she finds herself paying the emotional price. Perhaps that is why Summer's name continues appearing in conversation after conversation. Every mention feels significant. Every update matters. Every small piece of information becomes another connection to the daughter she misses so deeply. Meanwhile, Summer remains far away in Italy. From the outside, her life appears stable. She has established new routines. She has developed new relationships. And according to recent reports, she continues building a future with the man she met overseas. For someone starting over, that kind of stability can be comforting. But life rarely remains simple for long. Especially when unresolved emotions still exist. No matter how far Summer travels, Genoa City remains part of her story. Her family is still there. Her history is still there. And many of the people who shaped her life remain there as well. Those connections do not disappear simply because someone moves across an ocean. Eventually, they have a way of pulling people back. That possibility may be exactly what Phyllis is counting on. Some viewers believe she is beginning to realize that waiting passively is no longer enough. If she truly wants another chance with Summer, she may need to take action. Real action. Not manipulation. Not schemes. Not shortcuts. But honest efforts to rebuild trust. That would represent a major change for someone like Phyllis. Throughout her life, she has often relied on determination and strategy to get what she wants. This situation is different. Summer cannot be pressured into forgiveness. She cannot be convinced through grand gestures alone. The healing process must happen naturally. And that means Phyllis may finally need to confront painful truths about herself. The truth about past mistakes. The truth about broken trust. And the truth about the emotional damage caused by years of conflict. Ironically, acknowledging those truths may become her greatest strength. Because genuine change often begins with honesty. The question is whether Summer will ever get the opportunity to see that change for herself. If a return to Genoa City truly is approaching, the timing could not be more dramatic. Old wounds would be reopened. Long-awaited conversations would finally take place. And emotions that have been buried for months could suddenly explode to the surface. For Phyllis, that moment represents both hope and fear. Hope that her daughter might give her another chance. Fear that the answer could still be no. After everything that has happened, there are no guarantees. Only possibilities. And those possibilities become more important with each passing day. Because deep down, Phyllis knows something that few people are willing to say aloud. Family conflicts can last a long time. But they do not have to last forever. Sometimes reconciliation arrives when people least expect it. Sometimes forgiveness appears after years of pain. And sometimes the relationships that seem broken beyond repair find a way to heal. The question now is whether that miracle can happen for Phyllis and Summer. The young and the restless spoilers, Phyllis turns to Summer as family drama reaches a breaking. 4 months, the question has continued to follow everyone connected to this story. Will Summer Newman finally come home? At first, it seemed unlikely. After everything that happened between Summer and Phyllis, many people believed the damage was simply too great to repair. The disappointment was deep. The trust had been broken. And the emotional distance between mother and daughter appeared larger than ever. Yet time has a strange way of changing people. The anger that feels overwhelming today does not always remain forever. The pain that seems impossible to overcome can slowly begin to fade. And sometimes, when enough time has passed, people become willing to revisit relationships they once believed were beyond saving. That possibility is exactly why speculation surrounding Summer's future has become stronger than ever. Recently, her name has been appearing more frequently in conversations throughout Genoa City. Family members continue mentioning her. Friends continue asking about her. And most importantly, Phyllis cannot seem to stop thinking about her. Some fans believe those repeated references are not accidental. Instead, they may be laying the foundation for something much bigger. A return. A reunion. And perhaps the beginning of an entirely new chapter. If Summer does come back, she will return as a very different person than the woman who left. Italy has changed her. Life experience has changed her. The difficult choices she has faced over the past year have likely changed her as well. She left Genoa City searching for distance. Searching for clarity. Searching for a future that felt entirely her own. And according to reports, she may have found at least part of that future overseas. Her relationship with her boyfriend appears to have given her stability during one of the most difficult periods of her life. For the first time in a long while, she may have felt free from the constant drama surrounding her family. But even the happiest new beginnings cannot completely erase the past. Because no matter where Summer goes, certain connections remain impossible to forget. Her family. Her history. Her memories. And the people she once loved. Among those people is Kyle Abbott. Even though both of them have moved forward, their shared history remains significant. Their relationship shaped major chapters of their lives. And if fate ever places them in the same room again, emotions from the past could easily resurface. That does not necessarily mean romance will return. But it does mean unresolved feelings may demand attention.
Meanwhile, Claire Newman continues moving forward with her own life.
New relationships are developing. New possibilities are emerging.
And the future remains uncertain for everyone involved. That uncertainty is exactly what makes this situation so fascinating.
Every possible outcome remains on the table. A family reunion. A heartbreaking confrontation. A fresh start. Or perhaps an unexpected twist nobody sees coming. Yet through all the speculation and uncertainty, one emotional truth remains clear. This story has never really been about business. It has never truly been about power. And it has never been about winning or losing. At its core, this story is about family. More specifically, it is about a mother desperately hoping for another chance. Phyllis has spent much of her life fighting battles. She has defeated rivals. She has survived scandals. She has overcome obstacles that would have destroyed many other people. But none of those victories matter when compared to the possibility of losing her relationship with her children. That is the battle she truly wants to win. Not through manipulation. Not through strategy. But through understanding. Through growth. And through genuine change. Whether Summer is ready to recognize that change remains the biggest question of all. Perhaps she will return and discover that her mother is finally becoming the person she always needed her to be. Perhaps old wounds will begin healing. Perhaps forgiveness will slowly replace resentment. Or perhaps the road ahead will prove far more difficult than anyone expects. For now, nobody knows exactly what the future holds. But one thing seems increasingly clear. The story between Phyllis Summers and Summer Newman is far from over. In fact, it may be entering its most important chapter yet. Because sometimes the greatest comeback is not about reclaiming power. Sometimes it is about rebuilding trust. Sometimes it is about finding your way back to the people who matter most. And if Summer's journey eventually leads her back to Genoa City, she may discover that the family she left behind has been waiting for her all along. The next chapter could change everything. And fans everywhere will be watching closely to see whether this long-awaited reunion finally becomes reality. The end.